What do you do when you have an upset tummy or a bout of diarrhea? Here in Luxembourg and in many countries around the world, you would get some medications and you should be okay in a couple of days. However, in many countries that I have been to, the first line of treatment is a can of Coke. Why Coke? This is not because the ingredients are helping. It is because you need liquids to prevent dehydration resulting from diarrhea. What can you drink that is clean and pure and not tainted by bacteria, regardless of whether you're in a cafe in New York, an Outback pub in Australia, an eatery in Guatemala, or a remote village in the Congo forest? Coke. Coke is the only drink which is available with the same quality and consistency all over the world. It is the gold standard of beverages. But why am I telling you that? I am not here to advertise for Coke. I am here because I am deeply passionate about helping children and adults globally access life-saving vaccines, ones that are the gold standard, untainted, pure, and safe. So let me share with you two important facts. First, the important life-saving vaccines against the most terrible diseases in the world cost less than the price of a Coke you would pay in a restaurant. And secondly, despite this, millions of children around the world not only get these diseases, but unfortunately even die. My work at a Luxembourgish organization is focused on establishing the gold standard for all vaccinations globally to make sure that any child or adult, no matter where he or she lives, gets these life-saving vaccines with the same consistent quality standard, just like a Coke. In today's COVID times, it is easy for us to forget diseases like polio, diphtheria, hepatitis, or tuberculosis. But in many parts of the world, these claim millions of deaths. What's even worse is that the COVID pandemic has set us back by a few decades with regards to protecting against these diseases. As Warren Buffett put it, if you get the wrong end of the ovarian lottery, chances are high that you will not survive. Perhaps due to war, perhaps due to famine, but most likely due to one of these diseases. Out of the 140 million children born every year, 1 of 10 does not receive any vaccines. And every year, close to 5 million children die before the age of 5 due to easily preventable and treatable causes. To put that in context, you have roughly 6,000 children born in Luxembourg every year. Even if you add the kids born in Germany, France, Italy, Poland, in fact, the entire European Union, you have more kids dying globally than the number of kids born in the EU every year. This is absolutely shocking. So where is the problem, you may ask? Why are vaccinations interrupted? How can that be? Vaccinations are so cheap, where a whole insurance package costs the price of a Coke. So where is the problem? Why do we stop giving vaccines? Why don't children stop dying? The problem is not the price of the vaccine. The problem is not the willingness of parents to get their children vaccinated. The problem is the temperature. Vaccines need to be kept cool, typically between 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. Thus, the supply chain needs to be kept cool. If there is only one interruption in the supply chain because of a change in temperature, the vaccine loses its potency and becomes useless. To preserve the chain, therefore, you need a vaccine cold chain all the time. Let me take you on a journey of this vaccine manufactured in Switzerland. Keeping the vaccines cold and in a constant temperature in Switzerland is not a problem. On a plane from Switzerland to the capital city of any country is not a problem either. Keeping them cold in the capital city in a hospital or a medical center is also not a problem. Even keeping them cold on the way from the capital to a state may not be the problem. But from there on, conditions become tough. No energy, no infrastructure, extremely poor conditions. that work against traditional cooling equipment. That means no cooling, and no cooling means no vaccination. And now imagine that instead of maintaining 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, you need to store vaccines at minus 86 degrees Celsius. That's right, minus 86 degrees Celsius. That's exactly what several of the potential COVID vaccines require. Organizations like UNICEF, the WHO, Gavi, and the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation are working feverishly to ensure that this happens in some of the remotest places around the world. And this is certainly something that gives me a lot of pride to work on, despite giving me many, many sleepless nights. So what do you use for keeping things cold? Normally, a fridge. There are hundreds, possibly thousands of fridge manufacturers. So how can it be so difficult to not have a fridge for storing something as important and life-saving as a vaccine? But do you think your normal fridge will work here? No, I thought so. And why? The reason is fairly clear. These fridges have many parts, most of which are made of metal. What happens? Metal corrodes, parts disappear, joints break. In addition, with no stable power supply, the equipment fails, and the result is this. Our cooling device does not look like a typical fridge. It rather looks like R2-D2 from Star Wars. Here, you can take a look. Coming straight from the future to change the present and to fight the big empire of disease. This unit is a tank. It will never corrode, and it's built to withstand any missile attack. To keep this unit cold, of course you need energy. But this unit runs purely on the most abundant energy source available, the sun. And it is so energy efficient that it needs the sun only for a day in a month to keep vaccines at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius for the entire month. In addition, we can see the real-time performance of these units all over the world at the click of a button, 24/7, 365 days a year. Because for something as mission critical as vaccines and saving lives, we do not want to trust technology. We want to control technology. But even after doing all of this, we realize that this is not enough. Why would you say this is not enough? What is the point of bringing someone into a world of darkness, where that child will grow up with no electricity and basically never have a chance to grow out of the deep poverty that he or she was born into? Are we doing enough to save lives when we know that millions of lives are lost even before being born due to the lack of basic healthcare facilities like sonography and zero electricity or lights when a woman delivers in the middle of the night in pitch black darkness? What about the climate impact? We have used kerosene and gas to power these fridges, which, as you can imagine, is a disaster for the environment. In addition, the use of refrigerants like CFCs and HFCs are quite bad for the environment as well. So 5 years ago, we made a conscious decision. Our responsibility extended beyond saving the lives of these kids by providing them a safe and effective vaccine. We had an opportunity to do so much more. We decided to go completely green. At that time, people were just about beginning to experiment with natural refrigerants, which are significantly more expensive and not even mandated in most of the countries that we work in. But we wanted to be the thought leader, driving adoption of significantly more climate-friendly use of refrigerants. Today, it gives me absolute pride that for more than 99% of our devices, we use completely green and non-polluting natural refrigerants. And the amazing part is that we have been able to drive countries towards adoption of these much more climate-friendly technologies, even though they are mandated by law to come in place only 20, 30 years from now. We also decided that we will use solar power not just for the vaccine cold chain, but to use it to solarize each and every health center kit. This is what we developed. This device can power a sonography machine in a health center kit can power a projector for education, can be used to power medical devices like otoscopes, and last but not the least, can provide light for deliveries in the middle of the night, as well as power much needed cell phones. And the results have been truly overwhelming. What keeps me going, and no doubt also all the colleagues in my organization, as well as the hundreds of thousands working in public health, is when you see the smiles on the people, the celebrations when they see their child being vaccinated for the first time, or to have a baby being delivered successfully in the middle of a night. That is what keeps us motivated each day, every day. Ladies and gentlemen, the next time you see a can of Coke, I hope you remember that that can save the life of a child from many dreadful diseases. But please do also remember that vaccines need to be kept cold, just like Coke. People and children do not die because the price is too high. People and children die because the cold chain gets interrupted. With newer vaccines, including the COVID-19 vaccines, of course these will cost more than a Coke, perhaps a Happy Meal at McDonald's. Still not a lot for saving a life, but much more than a Coke. And with this, it's even more important to not interrupt the cold chain for the benefit of the children of this planet, in the past, in the present, but even more in the future. Thank you.